This is the PIVX Alliance discussion call. This call allows people who are part of the PIVX community, or anyone else for that matter, to join in the discussion around any decentralized partnerships, which we've decided to name alliances. Alliances are the future of business interactions between decentralized organizations. They allow for the forming of partnerships between organizations where no single person can decide which partnership should go ahead. Please enjoy this call and feel free to leave comments in the section below.
Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the somewhat official AMA for the second year of the Zenzo PIVX Alliance. We'll call it the PIVX Zenzo Alliance because that's alphabetical. That's nothing to do with our hubris or our egos. We'll just call it the PIVX Zenzo Alliance. So the reason why we've decided to call this is because we wanted to have as much community involvement on both sides, not only the PIVX side, also the Zenzonites as well. So we decided to call an AMA to give everybody a chance to, first of all, hear what we've got planned for the Alliance thus far. Also to put forward your own ideas as to things that we can have within the Alliance, and also to question some of the ideas that we may put forward. Because although we are staggeringly intelligent men, we are not perfect. So if there's anything that you feel that we've missed or anything that you feel that we've done incorrectly, this AMA is a perfect time for you to speak up. If you're uncomfortable using voice or there's issues with the push to talk, then please do use the Zenzo Alliance channel. And what I will do is I'll monitor that as we go. So what we'll do to get us started, I'm going to assume that people on this call don't actually know what Zenzo is, but they do know what PIVX is. So I'll hand over to Yurin B just so he can give us a very brief overview of what Zenzo actually is. Yurin B, take it away.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Yeah, and thanks, everyone, for showing up. And just one more note I wanted to add. We kind of had a previous AMA where we talked about alliances in general, kind of expanding for PIVX and kind of talking about opening up this process for other projects, whether they're PIVX forks or not, unrelated. And I do kind of want to have an undertone there. If there are any notes or anything anyone is thinking of throughout this experience of like how we can improve onboarding and creating alliances specifically for PIVX, please feel free to write some notes or share your thoughts in the Alliance channel, because we would like to kind of improve that process overall as well. But anyways, so Zenzo, in a quote unquote, in a nutshell here, Zenzo is basically an all-encompassing gaming ecosystem. And the foundation of this ecosystem obviously is the blockchain and the cryptocurrency aspect side of it. But what we are doing is looking to build, as I mentioned, an all-encompassing kind of universal ecosystem for both the gamer and game developer. And through this, we have different platforms and applications and tools, things of that nature. Some of you are probably familiar with the Zenzo Arcade, which is basically a digital marketplace. And previously, in the past year here, we actually had PIVX accepted on the Zenzo Arcade, which at the moment, unfortunately, it's not, but that's because we're working on a brand new iteration, the Arcade 2.0, and you better believe PIVX will be included on the next release. And anyways, at the moment, it's really just a digital marketplace for people to be able to buy, sell, trade video games with cryptocurrency. And our goals are basically to expand that to all game-related goods, physical goods too. Imagine, being able to purchase GPUs, gaming keyboards, things of that nature as well. That's kind of a future goal. And then tying into kind of our next product here, so to speak, that will relate to the arcade is the Zenzo Forge. And this is basically a way to create blockchain-backed assets in a scalable fashion. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with blockchain gaming, but I would say Ethereum probably has a majority of most of the blockchain games developed on it, largely maybe because the funding and also the developers and awareness and just overall status of Ethereum, and massive issues with that. It is not scalable in the slightest. Two big things are the transaction fees and the confirmation time. So imagine trying to play a game and like a fast-paced modern game, and you're literally having to wait every minute or 30 second for a block time to go through to be able to confirm if this action happened or not. It makes zero sense. And I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't understand that everything isn't meant to be put on the blockchain, but for the things that are necessary, which for a lot of models are the player assets, the game assets and items and things like that that give players complete digital ownership of their in-game items, which is the same thing basically with cryptocurrency, but applied to digital asset ownership in the form of game assets. But anyways, the Forge is basically our mesh network to help for scalable blockchain gaming. And in the future, and even right now, we're planning as well to have some little fun integrations for PIVX. We're working on our own blockchain game as well, Coda. And anyways, relating back to the arcade, we plan to list the ZFIs, or our standard of Zenzo NFTs, on there as well. So the arcade will also encompass that. Bear with me here. I know I'm rambling a little bit. It's getting a little late here, but recapping here, we have a digital marketplace for game goods, things like that, where you can purchase things with cryptocurrency, and working on scalable mesh network for blockchain-backed game assets, specifically with ZNZ. But what we're looking at doing with PIVX as well is being able to tokenize PIV. If you all are familiar with Ethereum, wrapped BTC, we could manage to do something similar where we could have a good swap and exchange between ZNZ and PIVX, things like that. As far as our game that I mentioned as well, our kind of little Easter eggs that we want to do are some unique things for allies and friends, and kind of put, we have one game that's basically a first-person shooter survival game. There's like billboards in the rundown city and stuff. There are a little few Easter eggs in there with PIVX up on the the billboard in there, and some PIVX assets. Not sure how exactly we want to do things yet, but I don't know if you all have seen the channel here above. We have like a PIVX gun charm, just some cool and creative, fun little things that we're working on, finding kind of more ways to give back to our allies and integrate cryptocurrency a little bit more into the gaming industry. But other than that, you all may know we do a checkpoint event every month where we highlight blockchain projects. We had John for our first checkpoint about 9 months ago, John M, he's not here with us anymore per se, but had PIVX as our first official guest on that event, where we highlight blockchain projects, mainly in the space of gaming. Not all of our guests have been that, but just being an open channel to help bring awareness and spotlight to other great projects and people that we like. Yeah, John M is still here in spirit for sure. And what we're working on here in the near future, kind of using some of PIVX's technology as well, the master of voting and governance, headed towards what we have, the Zenzo Hatchery, which is basically going to be our gaming incubator, where our community can be more involved and help kind of decide for which games and game developers we'd like to onboard into our ecosystem to work with. And yeah, just really kind of embody that spirit of community-driven projects, and especially in the field of gaming, there's nothing cooler than a gamer having their voice heard through the game developers and kind of building that bridge between, the gamers and game developers. And yeah, just honoring that. In my opinion, what it's all about. But what it's all about is very subjective, because most of the gaming industry, in my opinion, now is more or less just recycled titles, and it's all just about money and dollar signs on everything. In fact, the fun factor is really low on the priority list, and it's really just about the sustainability of economic models, and we're just looking to change all that. But anyways, big goals of Zenzo are basically help for the gaming industry to adopt the technology of both cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. So that's pretty much what we're doing in a nutshell.
Okay, right. Thanks for that, UMB. Right, so another thing which UMB didn't mention there also, which is quite important, two other factors about Zenzo is that the, current lead developer and I believe UMB himself are both contributors to the PIVX code base in some small way, and Zenzo itself is a fork of PIVX. So there's a natural synergy there. So what I really wanted to do was to let everybody know there's going to be a document which we will share within the next few days, which is it's like a 4-page document. I'm going to try and see if I can share it maybe on Google Docs, but I'll see if I can print out PDFs and just share them either via Twitter or in Discord or however me and UMB decide is best. But this document will make up the actual proposal which will be put in. So unfortunately for now, you're kind of just I'm gonna have to describe it because we haven't got a way to share it with the people that are on the call as yet. So basically, as the document goes through, I'm going to go through the first page, and the first part, it just lays out what is Zenzo. So we just went through that. UMB just gave a nice, concise account of what the actual project is, what they're aiming to do. So you kind of get a feel for it. The next thing that comes up is quite important, and it's what we call the Envoys. Now, the Envoys are the people who are responsible on each side for the alliance. So if there's something that one side wants to do on the PIVX side, they'll have to contact the Envoys on the Zenzo side. The reason why we have these Envoys is so that if people do leave the project, those roles can be fulfilled. So they're actually identified roles. So for example, if I leave PIVX for some reason, then somebody else, so I don't know, somebody like One Zeti, it has to be somebody quite handsome, will take up my position and then sit on the PIVX side and help when Zenzo want to perhaps communicate with somebody within the PIVX team about something, right? So for this particular alliance, who we've decided to put forward on the Zenzo side is Yurin B, who is co-founder and project manager. On the document, we'll also have his email address. So if anybody needs to contact him regarding this, they can do, and his Discord handle. The second envoy on the Zenzo side still is JS Kitty. JS Kitty's not actually on this call.
Unfortunately, yeah, Kitty's he's sick in bed with a fever right now, and he's not going to be able to make it, but hopefully he gets better soon. But yeah, JS Kitty is our lead developer. Most of you all probably know him and hear for his contributions in PIVX and some other projects as well. But yeah, he'll be our second envoy there for Zenzo.
Right, and yeah, so everybody should know JS Kitty. On the PIVX side, the envoys are myself, Cryptosi. I've put myself down as Alliance Coordinator. I couldn't think of a better job title. My email address isn't shared, but I'm on Discord half of the time, so you could just come into Discord and ping me if there's anything in particular you wanted to discuss about this alliance or anything else, really. The second envoy is actually Snappy. I'm not sure if anybody spoke to Snappy beforehand, but Snappy, we've put you forward for this role.
Oh, geez, thanks, mate. I mean, like, yeah, way to just throw me into a mix of misfits here. I mean, good night.
Centralized decisions, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll say collective intelligence of the cosmos tapped my shoulder and said, you're going to do it. So thank you.
Well, the reason for that was it was a toss-up between yourself and Jeffrey. We decided to go with you because you were instrumental in the first year of the Zenzo PIVX Alliance. And because I know you so well, and I know you struggle to say no to stuff, I decided that, yeah, we'll put you in there. So is that okay with you, Snappy?
Absolutely.
Has he left the
Gladly.
call?
Gladly.
Okay, good. I thought you'd left the call there for a moment.
Nope, just doing some yard work. All good. Carry on.
Right. So stakeholders, people who are interested in this we've put the Zenzo community and core team, PIVX community and core team. It's quite straightforward. Right, so the next thing that we really needed to discuss and meet out was the alliance scope. So basically what we looked at was what sorts of things could the alliance produce? So what sorts of things should the alliance cover and what can we do for each other? As Yurimbi's already explained, and it was a part of the first year of the alliance, PIVX will benefit from being available to be used as a currency on the Zenzo arcade once the next iteration is rolled out. I personally used PIVX on the first iteration of the arcade, and it was great. I could buy my Xbox games with my PIV, and I was very happy to do it. So I'm personally looking forward to that. Some of the other things we've got down are marketing and social media awareness. Yurimbi, feel free to jump in if you feel I'm going too fast or I'm missing anything. But what we've decided is that between our marketing, we kind of reach different audiences. There is a lot of crossover, as there would be, but with Zenzo being more focused on gaming, PIVX being more focused on privacy, there are two which we can say quite distinct crowds. So what we wanted to do was have our marketing and social media awareness shared. So when we have big announcements, say 5.0, or if we're on a push for people to come and help with testing, the Zenzo guys have agreed that they will help us by pushing those messages through some of their channels where applicable. So it's not a hard and fast rule to say anytime we want to tweet anything, they must therefore go and tweet it, because that's not how it works at all. It's just a way of saying that they're open to the idea of tweeting out when we have big news, and vice versa. Now, obviously, PIVX we've got multiple channels, so we do have more community-oriented channels, which may suit this more. And we do also have PIVX main Twitter channel. We've got our YouTube, etc., etc. But the idea is that we help each other raise awareness of each other's brands and each other's projects as best we can.
Just going in on that, we've been doing that for the past year, and it's not just something specific with PIVX, but we do that with all of our allies, and obviously the ones that we're closer with, and that there's more. What's a good word I'm looking for? I don't want to say cohesion, but just something that it's more relatable. It makes sense for us to share. So, for example, with the latest, previously with 4.2 and 4.1, we used a large majority of that for our Zenzo Core 2.0 and sharing more updates with that. And I'm sure many of you that are already familiar with Zenzo and PIVX, you've seen a lot of that already. And the goal is basically to just help support, big messages, big announcement, big releases, anything that's really epic and important, especially in the case of PIVX or something when it comes to a fork or a mandatory update things as well. And Tosi, you're 100% right. Very different demographics, even though a lot of our communities are the same people now. But gaming and privacy are two different aspects. And from Zenzo's side, we kind of encourage people. It's almost like PIVX is like our go-to privacy per se. Soon, trademarked.
Soon, right. I'm just going to recap some of the things that have been said in the Alliance channel before we go on, just so that people can get their voices heard. Tarek is bullying us into making a PIVX trading card game. Actually, that's not a bad idea. So, okay, that sounds good. And Wolven agrees with Tarek. Okay. Texas Hold'em in the wallet.
Yeah, we'll definitely plan to have a lot of trading card games, and I think trading card games are just a very good, simple model. I'm not saying that they're all like super simple, because the game mechanics can be complex, but from an overview point of view, the trading card games they work really well with blockchain, from my experience. As far as the Texas Hold'em and things like that, Zenzo being permissionless, anyone can build anything they want, but we will be very cautious about who we support in terms of like gambling and things like that, just for legal matters. Some moral, but mainly legal.
Okay. Also, another point which we picked up on was Zenzo's proximity to eSports and streaming events. So another positive side of this alliance will be that Zenzo will be in a position to introduce PIVX into esports and streaming events. Obviously, it's another one of those things where it's not a hard and fast rule we can say, we're going to be particularly sponsoring such and such event, but it will put us in a position where we can start to be seen by people from or people who are interested in these sorts of genres. Is that about right, UMB?
Entirely. And as I was mentioning before, pretty much our approach is anywhere we go, we're going to bring our allies with us. And if we don't believe in the people and the projects, the communities, we're not going to be allies. So basically, if we believe in you, we're going to be supporting you. And we actually have introduced PIVX into I don't know. I mean, it's so vague to say because we have been dabbling in esports, and it can't be like we introduced PIVX to esports, because that's a really vague comment. To some extent, there's truth to that, but if you say that, it sounds like something much bigger than it was. We're testing the waters right now too, but entirely, that's it. Anywhere we go, we're going to bring our allies with us. And yes, we'd love to create more opportunities in the esports and streaming world where we can also recommend PIVX. In fact, one of our the platforms that supports both PIVX and ZNZ is cryptocurrency checkout, where you can accept cryptocurrency donations through your stream, and that's something we've shared with people before too. Is like now with our streamers and things like that, you can accept both ZNZ and PIVX on stream.
Awesome, right? Recommending / listing PIVX on different crypto / blockchain platforms and applications. This has already happened what generally happens, I do it quite a lot, is when Zenzo announce something. Classic example is Zenzo announced that they were being added to, I forget the name of it now, not Harmony, Harkomia wallet, which is a mobile,
Right.
a mobile application. I saw that. I think I reached out to Urinb and said, oh, we would like to be on there. A led to B led to C, and PIVX is now on there. I'm quite sure that's happened some other times, but off the top of my head, I can't recite which ones they were anecdotally. But the idea is generally that when we get listed on a particular platform, we try to open a door. We'll say to the platform, the link that we've got there, how about this project of ours, Zenzo? Obviously, if you can add PIVX, then adding Zenzo technologically is a piece of cake because you're working with the exact same code base. It shouldn't be a big problem at all. And vice versa, if you've added Zenzo, then adding PIVX should be a piece of cake. So we are trying to take advantage of that, or we already have, but that's another thing that we're bundling under the Alliance umbrella, just so that people kind of know that's another advantage that we're hoping to gain from our close proximity with Zenzo. Is that okay, Urinb?
Yeah, I'm probably just going to be chipping in, like being your hype guy here entirely, man. Because yes, that's exactly the case. So, and it's been two ways too, and I'm very grateful to say that from Zenzo's side that when PIVX has had a new listing, either someone from PIVX, anyone has been like, either talk to them directly or message me or someone from our team, be like, hey, have you guys reached out to these people? You should see about them adding Z and Z. And then, the same thing has happened with us, is that we got listed. Cryptosi gave one example when he's like, when PIVX listing, or, something like that on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then there's more platforms and I wish I could say exchanges, but more platforms and apps than I can count or recite right now as well, from both ends though. So it's been very productive and beneficial so far.
Okay, at this point, we're about halfway through the call. So what I want to do is give anybody a chance to chip in. Anybody else, I kind of want to open the floor. Anybody who's got anything to say or any questions about anything that has been raised so far, feel free to unmute and speak now.
Yeah, feel free to unmute and speak, or type in chat if you can't talk at this time.
And this is usually where everybody stays silent.
I have a feeling some people probably want to talk, but they had the same issue with push to talk that I did.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and just read before we were talking, I kind of wrote it down, like, what is Zenzo, why Zenzo plus PIVX, and you're like, mentioned the code base, things like that. So for those that aren't familiar, it's such a long story. I don't want to go into this and drag it all out, maybe for another conversation, but I'm more than happy to share with anyone publicly, privately, however. But basically, yeah, we picked the PIVX code base about 2 years ago and had been building on it with different intentions, not so much in the field of privacy, and then had later somehow come across people from the PIVX team, and I really believe it was Snappy and you, Cryptosi, anyways, and got a chance to connect with you all and get involved in the community, and then really started to realize there was a lot of synchronicity, that this wasn't just like a privacy technology. There was a beautiful community and kind of DAO structure to things as well, and we just really hit it off. And I think that kind of sparked the idea of building this alliance and a closer relation, and it kind of just made sense from all angles, especially from a tech aspect as well, where we use a predominantly what's the right? Most of our code base is from PIVX, but modified and customized for the direction that we're looking to go, specifically in the realm of gaming. And privacy is not kind of like a light PIVX version with our own optimizations and things like that. But overall, like, why Zenzo and PIVX? A lot of it for us, like I mentioned, it just made sense from the aspect of the kind of communities and visions, I felt like. And you all in here is very aware that the space right now is not, visions are not aligned. And it's very unrealistic to expect people to have the same visions and goals as you in this space. Whereas most people, it's just primarily about the monetary. And that's fine to some extent. How you go about it is not fine, depending. But Anyways, it also made sense for us to pay our dues and respect to the people who have really created this technology or taken the technology so much further, PIVX core developers, and really done something unique. So in a way, for us, it's a way of paying homage and building a closer relation. And it's kind of a blessing now in some way, even if they are small contributions that we can actually contribute to the PIVX code base as well. All right. So snort the banks here. We got, has Zenzo explored the application of its coins and PIVs in gambling, both on eSports and other? Give me a second to reread that. Okay. I know what you're talking about. You're basically saying like gambling on eSports, right? Yeah, so we've talked about it anyways, and there's another project out there, a gaming project out there, and this is zero endorsement, know nothing about them really, but ESBC is their name, and they basically do something like that. For us, man, Bueller, I believe we really want to stay away from the gambling aspects of things. Can people use PIVX or PIV and ZNZ to do that? Sure, just like you could do it with anything. We're really not going to be headed in the direction of gambling and betting, as I mentioned, mainly for legal reasons. Some of it morally, it's just kind of gray. But we have explored the idea, but that's not something a direction we'll be going down.
Hey, so with that though, Zenzo being sort of an open ecosystem, should there be a group of individuals, developers that wanted to say develop their own ecosystem using Zenzo, that's something completely different, right?
I think so, yeah. And blockchains in general being permissionless, I think what you were saying or implying was like almost like a fork or using those aspects to make their own, or just building on Zenzo. And yeah, either way people could do that entirely. Yep. If you had game developers that wanted to build an application like that, Bueller, where you could bet with ZNZ and PIV on eSports and stuff like that, you could do it. But in terms of Zenzo itself, like we wouldn't be doing that. But it's a good question. And it's super popular right now. Very, very trending idea for obvious reasons.
Okay, has anybody else got any other questions before we move on to the kind of like the final part, I guess, of the call? Okay, you may forever hold your peace. Oh, hold on, I think Diggy B's typing something.
Maybe we'll give it just a few seconds here.
Yeah.
Or minutes.
Okay, I'm going to give us a preview. I'm not going to move on yet. I'm just going to let us know. All right, so in the last portion, what we will be speaking about will be the length of time that we want the alliance to last and why, the key deliverables, so how we're going to be measuring or quantifying what we want to get done, and also we're going to talk about reporting, how we're going to report and keep people updated on what's happening. We also looked at the risks that were involved, so we'll touch on those as well before we end the call. But I just want to give Siggy B some time to complete typing.
Yeah, I'd love to open this up here for anyone any questions regarding Zenzo, because I think there's a lot of things, or like a lot of people know of us, but they don't know exactly what we do and what we're planning to do. And obviously I mentioned, or I did my best to kind of lay that out in the beginning of the chat here, but any questions are welcome regarding this. Mm-hmm. Let's see what Siggy said here.
Yeah, Björn's just brought up a good point that Siggy's not actually on the call, so it's just a general question about Zenzo, where he could go to find a video or text overview, basically. So I'm assuming he would have missed the first part of the call, so that's probably why he's not privy to the information. Did I miss something? Yes. Okay. Right, so I'm going to move on, if that's all right with you, Urim B.
Yeah, go for it, brother.
Okay, top man. Right, so let's discuss what will be delivered. Okay, right, so what we've written down on this document, which we will share prior to putting forward the proposal. Actually, I'll tell you what I will do. I'll go through the timeline of how this alliance becomes official. So basically what happens is we started off just with some loose discussions between myself and Urim B And then we had like UMB discussed, we had a call which was similar to this one, but not nowhere near as structured, where we kind of discussed things. Some of you that are on the call now were on then. There were some people on then that aren't on now. The next step is that we put together this document, which was built from a template. We put in all the pertinent information. The next step after that is to bring it to you guys, share it with you guys, maybe leave it out in the communities for a week or so, I guess, so that people can have time to digest it, listen to this call, put forward their own ideas. There may be some other people who have got questions who aren't available to be on the call. For example, JS Kitty can't make it. I know that Lacey Mack can't make it either from the PIVX side. So there's kind of key people on both projects who aren't available. So once they've seen it and they've gotten a chance to speak on it, some of the core developers may want to have an input. Fuzzballs, for example, I know is quite keen on Zenzo as well as PIVX. After that, what we will do is we'll put in an official alliance proposal, which goes to the master nodes. This is on the PIVX side. Alliance proposal goes to the master nodes. The master node owners, as usual, they get a few weeks to decide. They vote yes or no. If they vote yes in large enough numbers, then the alliance becomes official. If they don't, then it doesn't. And we can just complain about how we can say how the master node owners are all out of touch, and we can all rage quit.
One thing to add, which I may just be interrupting you, that you're going to say too, with this particular alliance, this is zero budget, if anything, just a reimbursement of the 55 PIV or whatever, just to send it in. We're not asking anything directly of PIVX. This is really just kind of like staying in good standing of an alliance on both sides, but more formally, on the PIVX sides. Like we want to do things the right way here officially, but at the end of the day, there will be no ending of this alliance unless something major happens, at least from our side. I've
just realized that Tarek has made a Zenzo card as we've been on the call, a trading card, and it's got a value, and the value is already 5 ZNZ. I feel terrible. Can I get a card, please? Tarek, can you make me a card? Because I definitely will rage quit. I need a card. So can somebody make Cryptosi a card, please?
Need a Cryptosi warrior.
We definitely need a Cryptosi card. Definitely. Right. So now we're confirmed on the timeline. We know what's happening. As UMB stated, it's not a financial transaction. So unfortunately, I won't be getting paid for this. Neither will you, UMB. This is all just being done for the love of the projects. And
when have I ever been paid?
Right, join the club. So what I wanted to do was go through this next page, speak about what was supposed to be delivered, and what we've written down here is that both projects have been in a positive alliance for over 1 year. This proposal is supposed to just renew that good standing, kind of keep those doors open on a business level, on an energy level as well, just keep the energy flowing between the two projects. Hopefully the people that join one get to know about the other and vice versa. So there aren't any actual metrics that we can measure. So we're not going to say something like the PIVX website has to have 1,000 referrals from the Zenzo Twitter or anything like that. I don't think that's a good idea. I hope UMB agrees with me that that's not a good idea.
Yeah, right now, I wouldn't call this a strategic partnership or alliance at all. This is really just an open and friendly alliance. Like, hey, we mutually and publicly acknowledge this project and this community and this team, and we respect them, and we'll be sharing updates of their things that we feel are worth sharing. Simple as that.
Yep. Okay. As such, as far as reports are going, obviously there's been a lot of a kerfuffle about reporting. UMB, you may not be privy to it. It's kind of like PIVX's own somewhat internal, community-wide dirty laundry. So some of the people want more reports from these type of proposals. I don't want to report on what's happening in the alliance. If the whales who want those reports, or if the people who want those reports can't follow the social media or the discords and see what's going on for themselves, then that's their business. I'm not going to type up a report and summarize stuff for them because I've got better things to do. UMB, obviously, you're welcome to, or anybody else for that matter, who wants to report on how the alliance is going. If you want to do it just for, I don't know, something to write about, if you enjoy writing, then feel free. Obviously, like,
that's cute.
This is a
yeah, right, just to write. No, I won't be writing just to write. I'm trust me, I write enough monthly reports and articles and things. I have more than enough on my plate. But going into that, I and the team, Zenzo team, we always share status reports and updates and things in the Zenzo Alliance channel. And I'm sure if you all are following PIVX on Twitter and social media and things like that, and Zenzo, you'll definitely see our updates and things like that. But yeah, we'll bring it to everybody's awareness, the things that should be made note about. And so we'll make it very easy for people to be able to track progress of this general alliance, just if you wanted to go to the Zenzo Alliance channel, period.
Yep. Okay. The length of time the alliance lasts for. Alliances, this is a rule set in stone. Alliances can only last for 12 months. The idea behind that is that we get to revisit the alliances regularly. So with this particular alliance, we made it, I think it was maybe 15 or 16 months ago now, the initial alliance went through. Now that we've come back a year later, some things have changed. So it is good that we do get to jig these alliances every 12 months or so. We're going to put this alliance forward for the maximum length of time, which is 12 months. So we're going to go for another year. One of the things that did happen during the last 12 months was one of the key members of PIVX has kind of is not really around now. Similar with Zenzo, it's also the same because Joseph, I think his name was his name Joseph?
Yeah, previously one of the core team members from Zenzo that was actually here to help kind of facilitate and set all this up. He's no longer with us as well. So yep, things are always changing.
Yep. So, and that's going to happen in crypto. That should happen in crypto. The idea is that these things aren't grandfathered in. There's no point in having an alliance because Cryptosi thought it was a good idea in 2012, and now we're in 2036. And the alliance, that doesn't make any sense. So we're just going to do it a year at a time, and we're going to run this one for 1 year. The key deliverables, as we stated before, are the shared media, important announcements. Obviously, Zenzo will continue, the people that have already contributed to the PIVX code base, they will continue to try to contribute to the PIVX code base. There have been some features that I have seen JS Kitty put forward in the Zenzo code base, which would probably do quite well in the PIVX code base. I'm hoping that we get to see those given time, and obviously vice versa. If our next privacy protocol does suit Zenzo because it's somewhat lightweight, it doesn't cost as much as privacy usually does, perhaps Zenzo may pick it up. So you got those kind of crossovers, which we won't really delve into because they're quite tech heavy, and without either of the developers on board during this call, it would be quite speculative to discuss how far that part of the alliance can go. Also, shared networking and business development, obviously introduction of PIVX into the gaming industry, and another use case for PIVX with being on the Zenzo arcade. Those are pretty much the key deliverables. I believe, unless I've missed something out, I don't think I have I, UMB?
Nope. That's pretty much it. It's kind of the same thing moving forward, which is just general awareness of both projects, or sharing additional support through social media, typical business development, like we mentioned before with the listings. Like if Zenzo or PIVX gets listed on a new platform, just mentioning, hey, have you seen our buddies too? Code base is almost identical, very easy to list them, as you mentioned before. And on the arcade, and hopefully in the future, kind of integrations into the games that we're building. If not PIVX specifically, which is going to be a bit more challenging technically, but like PIVX assets on the Zenzo blockchain and things like that as well.
Right. Last but not least, what I'll do, we'll discuss, well, it's not really even a discussion really, major risks or major known risks. The idea behind the alliances in the first place was to protect the project, or any decentralized project, from the grandfathering. I get that term from, I think it's Rhubarb told me that one, the grandfathering in of alliances. So the idea is not that I can decide, oh, we're in alliance with, I don't know, some kind of shady business just because I feel like it, and then it's set in stone. So that's why we go through this whole process. One of the main things that we should do, it's prudent to do, is to analyze the risks from a potential alliance. Because of the nature of the two projects, the risk is quite small. At this point, Zenzo is somewhat established. I guess you guys are 2.5 years in, which is like basically 2.5 lifetimes in crypto. PIVX is, I guess we're 4 years in now, 4 or 5 years in. So we're both pretty much established projects. The only real risk that we could come to would be if the core team changed direction for the worse. So I don't know if PIVX decided it was going to become a coin for the dark web only. That may become, I don't know, an issue for Zenzo and some of the people within Zenzo to say, okay, this is kind of going to tarnish our reputation, or vice versa. So what we done was we analysed that sort of risk, the risk of the projects changing their direction in a large way in a short space of time. We've decided that is a risk because it could happen, but we've given it a low risk rating. We couldn't come up with any others, although we did try, but we couldn't come up with any others. So if anybody else can think of any reasons why, or things that should be risks that we should be looking at, the idea is that we raise them and then we do our best to mitigate them. If the risk is really bad, maybe it may be something that makes us think, okay, well, maybe this isn't a good idea. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the whole reason that we have this entire process, so that we can identify these things and not walk blindly into these problems. Is that about right, UMB?
Right. I think that's great, man. And not just for Zenzo, but for any alliance with PIVX, or just a good protocol for any alliance, like understanding your potential risks and, metaphorically getting in bed with other people, a term, people often use anyways. I don't know why I just use that. I'd never use that. But anyways, you know where I'm headed.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the case that we kind of weighed everything for us with Zenzo and PIVX, it's pretty low risk. You could definitely argue that PIVX is a bigger name and a bigger project, so it could be more risk to PIVX if something bad happened with Zenzo, and we questioned that. We looked a little bit deeper, like, well, what would happen? Say something happened, exit scam, worst case scenario, something typical. It was worded a little bit more eloquently, like core team changes direction, but like let's cut to the chase here. If there's some exit scam or just something really shady that happens, like what's the worst that would happen to PIVX? Like, hey, we knew a bunch of these guys, this one guy did this and caught everyone off guard, here's proof of it, and what? Like, shouldn't affect PIVX at all. Why would it damage the PIVX ecosystem? And the same thing, and if anyone has any comment to that, please type it or share that. But the same thing goes to Zenzo. If something happened like that with PIVX, it was like, oh, PIVX was exploited. Yep, been there, done that. That's to be expected with any crypto. But it's like something happens and core dev, scams or does something shady. It's like, well, yep, we didn't control that. Here's proof of it. We're no longer in an alliance with these people. And I think it's kind of a mutual understanding there. But I could say that because PIVX is a larger project, there would be more at risk to some extent. But I think we're really on the same side, which is basically if anything went down, I guarantee 98% of both teams and communities wouldn't approve of it and would just share proof and be like, yep, that's the end of that. Simple as that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up now. So this is literally anybody's last time to speak. The reason why I have to wrap up is because my wife is signaling to me that we have to go for dinner, and I'm not brave enough to pick a fight with her at the moment. So if anyone's got any comments or questions on the subjects that we've just spoken about, now would be a great time to share them. I've just been made a card by Peric for a fire mage.
It's not on the chain yet, so it's not real. You have to wait for JC.
That's incredible.
I will take it. I like his jumper that he's wearing.
You're wearing a dress there.
It just looks like a big jumper to me. So we identified the risks. I honestly can't think of any more. Me and UMB spent probably about 20-30 minutes last time we discussed privately. If there was anything else that we could realistically add, we couldn't really come up with anything. What we'll do is we'll leave it open to both communities or anyone listening to this recording. If there is anything that you think could be a risk, then yeah, definitely bring it up, because we want to identify these things before we go forward, so that we can mitigate them in any way and nip them in the bud nice and early. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, now is your chance to share them.
And if and when anyone's typing or has any feedback, just to wrap this up here overall, what we've discussed since the beginning, this is basically just ongoing alliance year 2. It's really more than a year already, but year 2 alliance between Zenzo and PIVX. For those of you all that don't know, some members of PIVX are a part of the Zenzo core team, and we are also involved in the PIVX community. I think Kitty used to be more involved on core team at some point. I'm not entirely sure, how all that goes, fancy titles and whatnot. But what I'm trying to say is that we're both kind of heavily, or let's just say we're both involved in each other's projects, and it's a really good and healthy bridge between both projects. So we just want to grow this and continue the cycle of reciprocity. Anywhere that Zenzo goes and grows, we hope to be able to offer that to PIVX, and I think PIVX kind of has the same aspect and mentality for Zenzo with this alliance when applicable. Obviously, in the fields of privacy, Zenzo has no say there. But anyways, overall, this is just an alliance to keep an ongoing friendly relationship between both projects and a great bridge of support.
Yes, here. Okay, and with that, Rubarbarian has spoken. Hugs all round. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks for the questions that came in. Thanks for the support. Yeah, shout out to Wolven for being the only other Brit here. We've got to stick together. And so the next step, next thing to look out for will be the official proposal, which I guess we will put in the next 2 weeks or so, depending on how the cycles work. I'm not too sure about, off the top of my head, I'm not too sure about the PIVX cycle, so I don't want to put it in too far towards the end. I want to put it in towards the beginning of the voting cycle. So
right. We'll agree with that. We'll put it in at the next beginning cycle.
Yeah.
Well, Cryptosi, thanks for helping to host this, and thank you everyone for joining. And I hope in the future we can also kind of use this with Zenzo as kind of a test bed to help onboard new alliances and things as well, kind of create a protocol or a good structure or further develop the protocol. But anyways, any questions or anything, our doors are always open. You can message us in pretty much any social channel, the Zenzo Discord or in the Zenzo Alliance channel. But just wanted to thank everyone for an awesome past year and a half, and everyone for joining this call. And we expect some great things in the future as well.
Thanks, UMB.
Cheers, everyone. Everyone have a great Sunday.
Congratulations, you've made it to the end of the call. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe, as it really helps us out. Also, if you have any discussion points or comments that you would like to leave, please feel free to leave them and keep the conversation going. Thank you.